was a home. It was like a brotherhood, friendship, everything.
Well, you know, that call and response thing, you know what I'm saying? I took that road, they gave me the road.
But if everybody can stay focused on just the music and everybody can have the same drive and the same passion and same hunger and just strive for like the best, and that's how we can stay on the same page.
My first band, some of them niggas gone. Them niggas split our whole crowd. Half our crowd don't come see us anymore because half our band out here. So my mind is thinking is like, our brand bigger than all of us. Me, Trey, G-Money, Bo, everybody. Yeah! Married to Joanna.
It all started uptown on Otis Place, Northwest, right off Georgia Avenue, back when a group of young guys would have their first official band practice on this street. And I had the pleasure of briefly linking up with one of the original members, leader, rapper, and go-go royalty, ROC MIKEY, right where they started. We out here, ROC MIKEY. What's going on, man?
What's happening, my nigga?
All right, so we out here where it all started at for the band. So can you tell the audience how many members it was and what year and everything?
I believe it's about 10 of us. Me, Erk, Big E, Wooda, Peeps, Big Marcus, G-Money, Bo, Mooley, did I say him? It was like 10 of us.
Okay, and this was around what, 96?
Yeah, like 96 going into 97.
In the beginning, UCB had to maneuver and overcome the harsh realities of the city because they come from that old DC. And when we mention Uptown Northwest, it's so many blocks that even to this day you wouldn't want to sleep on as far as getting too comfortable moving around. But in the past, it was way more deadly.
Also here in Washington, 4 people were shot to death in a nightclub early this morning, bringing the number of murders in the nation's capital so far this year to 82. Police are looking for 2 men who walked into a night spot called John's Place at about 1:30 in the morning and shot 6 people. Only 2 survived.
Some of the most popular go-go nightclubs the city had to offer, like the legendary Black Hole, which was right in the same area where the band practiced. UCB learned from the best of them. They strategically planned their success by looking at the pros and cons of older go-go bands, and they began crafting their own hits. One of their strengths was their ability to make real original records in the studio, records that became popular. At the time, there were other up-and-coming bands back in the 90s like the Northwest Youngers doing their thing. And UCB was new on the block. But once they got their lineup tight, they quickly became a force to be reckoned with in the city, going on to headline shows early. But most of the original members grew up in the Northwest area around Georgia Avenue. Otis, the Rittenhouse, and other streets all up and down the avenue, as well as near Leroy Park. But they also had members that came from other parts of the city like Northeast, so even though some of them were kind of scattered out and went to different high schools like Curl, Coolidge, and Wilson, some members came together playing sports early on, becoming tight and later eventually forming a band.
See, we from Uptown, and we don't play that shit. We from Uptown, and we don't play that shit. See, we from Uptown, nigga, we don't play that shit.
They each had a passion for music. ROC MIKEY played in school bands, and others like the singer Trey, who was born at Howard University, came from a musical background himself, considering his father, who passed away when he was just 2, used to sing in different local R&B groups, as well as his grandmother, who performed on the district jazz circuit. According to members of the band, everything shifted so fast. They went from opening up shows to building their own audience, attracting crowds of young folks. By '98, they were headlining at the Icebox, and they wasn't one-hit wonders. At the time, when me and my friends got hip to UCB, and for the record, we were late, and BYB was the only band we were cranking at the time until one day, we were invited to a party uptown, and the first song they played,
I'm looking for a nasty hoe. Every day is dripping wet, but she a classy hoe. Feeling when we first met, she never asked me though. She just took it when she won, and it's a fucking whoa. On the bedroom floor, she blessed me, tame me, tease me, know just how to please me. On days when I ain't fuck, she call me up and say she need me. She only wanna fuck when she see me. After the show, I thought you knew we all straight hoes. I'm a hoe, you know I'm a hoe.
and just like that, we became fans of their music from that moment on.
We gonna get vicious. Right, what's up?
While they building their reputation and blowing up, they received praise from the youth, but also scolded because some of the venues where they played became a place for partying and violence. A quote from the Washington Post article said, "Fights at UCB shows became all too common." Which is true, youngest was throwing down in them go-go's, but all the real folks know the truth. It was never the music itself that caused most of the violence, and it wasn't the bands, but trouble still seemed to follow them, especially when some of the members were friends with the guys who was in too deep, in the streets, some of the same streets UCB came from. So even though they were in music, which probably helped save their lives, they were well aware of the nature of the environment they grew up in. The singer Trey even stated that he had lost his close friend when he was 12 to gun violence. And then he also said some people have 50 friends in their life, but I lost 50 friends before I could vote. So UCB as a band had to deal with a lot while working regularly to solidify themselves in music, which they took very serious from the start. Separating themselves with the original music and studio albums was a big deal for a band. They made full-length projects such as Can You See Beyond, Neighborhood Life, and Back to Basics. They were destined for greatness, and every member contributed to some very memorable records. Just like on their Neighborhood Life album that features songs like Rock Mikey. So many dope songs over the years, I swear. I don't even like dark liquor, but at one point, UCB had me contemplating Remy for sure off of the VSOP joint. Now, there was a point in their past when they dropped the Can You See Beyond album where, according to Rock Mikey, they received mixed reviews. Some were rocking with it, but others took issues due to it sounding more similar to rap. So after that, their next release, they titled Back to Basics, which meant we going back to the drawing board, more go-go influenced records, and that was released around 2003. But UCB will really go on to stamp their legacy with their 2005 studio album release, The Uncalled For Experience, which featured a song that Genius.com called one of the most definitive songs in all of modern DC go-go.
Ladies.
That joint did numbers and brought on a new fan base, more college students, which they were aiming for because at the time they were trying to clean up their image, moving away from the negative stereotypes that haunted them in the early part of their career.
In 05, man, that joint came out, I didn't even think that it was going to do what it did. We just was doing what we always do, make music, create, you know what I'm saying, ideas come together, collaborate. And when we did that, that joint popped off. pretty fast for us. We got it recorded and mixed at my man Rashad's studio, Central Electronics, in his father's joint, and put that joint out. It did what it did.
This was the one song with the potential to reach outside of the diehard go-go fans. Digestible to the masses, an instant smash, and according to Trey, Sexy Lady at one point was in rotation in 17 cities for a year straight. And so the beat behind Sexy Lady was inspired by a Tupac song.
Cause I hate to spend my life. Ladies, we got something special for y'all tonight. Cause I hate to spend my life.
By this point, UCB had released numerous projects and performed at various spots even outside the country in Jamaica. After the success of Sexy Lady, apparently Roc Nation was interested in Trey as a solo artist though, and not UCB as a whole. However, Trey supposedly turned down the opportunity and chose to stick with the band at the time.
4, 3. Yeah. We got a lot of star power in the building tonight. Rock Mikey without, Trey without. Rock Mikey without, Trey without.
Sometime around 2006, Wale, who was a new up-and-coming rapper, started picking up traction in DC after the song Dig Dug hit the airwaves. He would go on to drop more go-go influenced records like Breakdown, One Thing About a Player. Man, it captivated the city. It was his best work, in my opinion. All of those early tracks from the Paint a Picture mixtape. Released under Studio 43 with Kenny Burns. Then later he signed with producer Mark Ronson and got the push he needed, inking a deal with Alito Records in 2007, and the rest was history. Roc Nation later on, MMG, but UCB had first linked up with Wale through Kenny Burns.
Yeah, we back up in here every Friday, y'all. What's up, birds? Happy birthday to all the Pisces out there too, man. Yeah. Sweet Deidre.
Still ringing in my ear, screaming I don't care.
So as UCB and Wale became tight, Wale went on tour and UCB became his touring band, which was a great opportunity for him, at least in the beginning.
Yo, Taylor, I'm really happy for you. I'm gonna let you finish. But Beyonce had one of the best videos of all time.
Things were moving fast for Wale, and UCB was there for it. So they rode along on the Wale train, still hoping to get their own situation at some point, which made sense. Everybody was being paid for performing at the time. And then by 2010, things took a turn for the worse. Now prior to that, at some point, according to Roc Mikey, there were complaints of certain members not receiving their checks from touring. Talks of members like Slump being owed several checks, and Roc Mikey would speak up for him. Wale was allegedly earning far more money by that time than when they first started, which is no surprise. As an artist blow up, on the rise, and pick up more steam, they demand more money, so eventually Roc Mikey and Wale would bump heads and trade back and forths on Twitter. He thought it was only right that they get an increase. UCB was their own talent, they wasn't a background band, but it made sense for them to link and tour with Wale because it could potentially benefit everyone. So at the time, because he couldn't DM Wale, he wrote him on Twitter, and Wale responded with, "I know what this about. You can have your band back." And from that, a meeting was called with the board administration, and it was said that Wale was not going to deal with UCB if Roc Mikey was still in the group. It's either him or the band. Crazy coincidence, Roc Mikey being a rapper, Wale being a rapper, maybe they were destined to clash, I don't know. But Wale did not show up for the meeting. Instead, there were people present there at the meeting speaking for him. So now there was a split. Some members stayed with Trey and Wale, and some ended up with Roc Mikey back home.
He was good with just them. He didn't really need me and G Money and Bo, because we do the same thing he do. We rap, we MC, so it was like a conflict of interest to have all of us on the stage at one time and it just wasn't, they didn't know how to express or communicate that, I believe.
For a minute, it was over for UCB. They officially split around 2011. Trey remained loyal to Wale, backing him, singing, being a hype man, advisor, assistant, doing whatever necessary for the overall success of the Wale team. ROC MIKEY later fired shots at Wale on record when he began focusing on his solo project, War, and he released the diss title War, W-A-R, which stood for Wale Ain't Real.
Yeah, I told y'all niggas, chop the 600 bands, had to show y'all niggas, yeah, it's on. And fuck what the boy gotta say, cause we ain't fucking with the border, they fucking with Wale. I don't know what Ricky sing, but he must be blind. Wale ain't never been a G or a part of my kind, maybe a part of my shine. I let him rap in my show, I showed him how to engage, I showed him how to put on. Okay, he showed a little love, then the nigga turned fraud. UCB dropped the blend, Wale got loud. UCB dropped the blend, Wale got loud.
Before the split, UCB released a mixtape titled The Blend, a collection of records where they merged go-go and rap, and allegedly Wale wasn't too thrilled at the idea. I don't want to speak for him, but I guess maybe he wanted UCB to stay in the background. Maybe he was focusing on this thing, but he was featured on the project, as well as Bun B, Young Chris, and Freeway, and the singer Lloyd on the track Let It Loose, produced by the Neptunes. So some people blame Wale for the UCB breakup. My honest opinion is Wale was passionate about Wale. ROC MIKEY was passionate about UCB as a whole, even going as far as speaking up for those guys who didn't receive their pay. And I know it's always two sides to a story, and UCB's story picked up with a sold-out reunion show in 2014 at the Howard Theater. Just like the old days, most of the original members back on stage together since 2011. Trey, ROC MIKEY, Easy, Bo, G Money, Glenn, Slump, Rashad, Stan, Peeps, and Marcus. Fans were happy to see him. It was nostalgic, but short-lived. Some went back to Wale, and UCB went cold for some years. Until late 2017, 2018, ROC MIKEY, a few originals, and some new members got their second run.
When the night is done and they saying last call, and that booty is the only thing I see. Yeah, yeah. Bend your back, bust it down, turn that booty all around, just as long as you twerk for me. So darling, darling.
We got two shows coming up. Open Streets in October.
Just started on that, right?
Yeah.
You just started on that?
Yeah.
I was like, that was the day before. I just
like the whole road.
You like it? Yeah.
Like a daytime on 5 to 7. The whole road.
UCB is a brand, still working with some of the originals and some new, fresh, young talent. They be doing spot dates at clubs, still recording music, original music as well as cover songs, and it's dope to see for real. I want to thank ROC, MIKEY, and the rest of the band for allowing me into their space, talking with me and sharing their story. Let me know if y'all want me to keep going with some of these go-go joints.
Still going down. G-Money, we came up rough, pointing aiming for the bucks. Clever never hang huck, the hot gutted nuts, stirring shady in the cuts. We always stood out, same four, stand tall and stand out when time's up. This living ain't dead, we hurt but don't care. Get shot, get poppers every day around here. These feelings, no fears, we hurt but still here. We strap and we packed and we up